Greetings. We laud the Reality of Aid Global Network for the launch and release of the 2020-2021 report that will once again look into the important role and the effectiveness of development assistance or aid from donor countries in the global objective of reducing, if not eradicating at all, the root causes of poverty, inequality, conflict, and especially injustice. This virtual launch of this report is quite significant, coming as it is in the midst of the global crisis aggravated by the current COVID-19 pandemic. But to a developing country like the Philippines that is now suffering from an economic recession for the past 5 consecutive quarters, the findings and recommendations contained in this report is certainly very relevant. While the Philippines has long been a recipient of official development assistance from most major donors, we welcome and note the chapter that included in this report that deals on how U.S. aid for decades influenced and shaped, directly or indirectly, many of the country's policies, even up to now, or even after the so-called grant of formal independence to its former and only colony in Asia. Given the history of underdevelopment, conflict, and social unrest, it is no surprising that the Philippines is now considered a primary candidate of being a laboratory for the implementation of the triple nexus approach in development planning in relation to the aid given by donor countries. But we may ask, is the triple nexus approach truly effective, especially in the Philippines? Does it truly respond to the needs of the intended beneficiaries, the poor and the marginalized communities? The article presented by Ibon International revealed that indeed, in most cases, as in the case of USAID, it is the open quote, economic and geopolitical interests of donor countries that drive aid priorities and the resulting impacts on conflict and fragilities, close quote. Meanwhile, on the peace dimension of the triple nexus, Ibon's analysis also show that interlinked security initiatives and humanitarian efforts risk contributing to, instead of reducing, conflict and fragilities. And this we certainly concur, especially if one has to closely examine USAID's peace agenda that is not entirely or even totally divorced from its security agenda that justifies and intensifies militarization of many communities, especially in the rural Philippines. As Ibon aptly pointed out, USAID's peace agenda even, open quote, contributes to perpetuating impunity and deepens the roots of conflict, close quote. We believe that it should not be the case. Reforms then must be instituted to correct this kind of approach. In the main, we trust that the findings and recommendations in this report will further contribute in the institution of more reforms to further democratize the processes and modalities of the development aid regime, as well as the relationship between donor countries and the poor and marginalized beneficiaries. Finally, it is also our wish and expectation that this 2020-2021 report will genuinely help also in our common objective of finding solutions or responses to the challenges faced by millions of our people, especially in this time of crisis aggravated by the global health pandemic. Thank you.